spent all this money buying this damn thing. One of my friends told me one of the cheapest things you do is when you buy it, that's the cheapest part of owning it is buying it, because then you just spend all the money on it. So I wanted to go over what I did to this and all the money I spent on it, and if I would do the same things over again, or if there's things that I would choose not to do if I had to do it again. So let's start out with the big things. One of the biggest things that I did was wheels and tires. Those are about $1,600. Raceline 32-inch or Raceline 15-inch wheels with 32 by 10 by 15 chicane tires. For some reason, this thing came stock with 11s in the rears and 9s in the fronts. And it make the steering lighter, but the front end just never felt like it wanted to grab and go into a corner. So this is definitely one thing any side-by-side owner, especially the big boy ones, should do first, is if you don't have 32-inch tires, it's pretty much essential for these. Another big ticket item is the suspension. So a lot of people don't know, but your stock springs, mine, these were green, only lasts about 500 miles of hard driving on one of these machines. So this one has about 2,200 miles. And once you switch over and you do, these are iBox. Here's a little shiny logo. There's the iBox. Once you put those in, they last for a lifetime. They should never keep squatting. So when I lost probably 5 inches of ground clearance when I first set it up. Because the stock springs just kept collapsing and collapsing and collapsing. So these are not only iBox, so I have the iBox springs on here, but I also have full revalved suspension from STR Tuning In Suspension. And what that does is they pull apart the whole shock, spring, whatever assembly, change all the valves in there, put all new fluid in it, change how the system works and how it compresses and how all that fancy stuff. All I can tell you is it rides a million times better with that on there. So once you put those on there, it's a completely different world. It's about $2,000, but it's one of the things I'd highly recommend for anyone who wants to ride hard and enjoys riding fast. And even if you just ride slow and you rock crawl, suspension is probably one of the most important things you can upgrade on one of these things. This bad boy right here, it's hard to get a shot of it. So this is an S&B particle separator. What it does, it uses helicopter technology. Basically the air comes in the front, has like a vortex thing, the dust comes shooting out the back here, and then in your air box you only get clean air. So I will tell you that I bought this thing new, and I put about 200 miles on it before I put the S&B on there, and at 200 miles I was dumping sand out of the airbox. So I would highly recommend, if you live in a dusty location like sand dunes. I don't know who did all those drifts. Wasn't me. Anyways, if you live in a place with a bunch of sand dunes or sand or dust or anything else, your engine's basically just like a big pump. So you get sand in there, it's going to destroy your engine. It's $400, but if you plan on riding your machine a lot or keeping it for a while, it's probably one of the smartest investments you can make. Next thing, street legal kit. So I live here in Utah, so you can see my reflectors fell off. I got blinkers, I got mirrors. In there you can see I've got a stalk with an indicator and a horn, license plate. What that means is here in Utah, there's my indicator. Here in Utah, these things are street legal. So I can drive it from my house to here. So that's easily probably one of the best things you can do if you live in a state that allows you to do it, is make it street legal, because then I don't have to put it in a trailer. I drive it right from my garage out to here. Roof rack. So I bought the roof rack because during the summertime, you see this nice beach here. All of our friends have boats out here. We all bring our side-by-sides. It's a big party. Everyone has lots of fun. Problem is with this, I have 2 kids. You can see there's boosters in the back. By the time you put the kids in there, everything else, you still have a lot of crap that you need to bring with you to the beach, like coolers and chairs and food, sand toys, everything else. So this roof rack up here is really nice because it's got a great place to stuff all this crap. Plus it's has these pre-mounting points right here for a special belt that I have where I can throw, if I'm going on a longer trip, I can throw a spare tire up there. The other added bonus is it does offer a little protection to my S&B in case goes tippy-tippy. And it made sure that I didn't have to put the S&B in the rear window where a lot of people do. It's a pretty loud vortex that comes out of there, so I didn't really want that in my kids' ears. So yeah, light bars. So as you can see, I have this main white light bar here with these white lights, and then a secondary light bar that's just a yellow light here. I also have those on 2 separate switches, so I can run them independently of each other. So here, during the summertime, it's really hot, so we go out riding a lot at night. So you need the lights so that way you can see. The problem is if you ride with other people, this light bar right here and these little white lights, they will make it so you cannot see anything. It'll be like a whiteout cloud of dust. So that's where this yellow light comes in. This one cuts through the dust, lights it up pretty good, and you can still see. So I highly recommend a yellow light over a white light. You can do both of them or get a dual one. Just make sure if you do both of them and it's not a dual one, that you have them on separate switches so you can turn these off and this one on. And with that side note, I don't have it on here, but it's wired up. Right here is for my lighted whip. As you can see, I've got a cutoff wire here now, and that's because it broke again. They all seem to break with hard driving, going through the tunnel here at Sand Hollow. If you don't take them down, forget driving to your garage like I've done a couple times. So what I do is I only put my lighted one on there when I'm going to use it, and then the last one that broke, I cut this cord off right here and left it screwed in, and that way in this little connector here, it doesn't get sand and dirt and crap in it, so now it's protected. And so when I do want to use it, I can just plug it in, put it up there, and yeah. But I highly recommend that because it makes it a lot easier to see somebody to see you at night. So one thing that I highly recommend, especially if you have a 4-seater or you ride with other people, is a rugged radio. So we have headsets right there, and we have headsets that would go back here, but they're capped off because the kids aren't with us right now. But what this allows you to do is talk to your passengers. You can have a full-on conversation, you can have music playing. The biggest thing too is you can have different channels so you can talk to other cars. So if you're in a group of people, you know, there's a motorcyclist coming up, or a dirt bike, or a Jeep, or something else on the trail, or even if you break down. I blew a tire in the middle of Arizona, and we were probably like 5 miles apart. Well, maybe not 5 miles apart. We were probably a mile apart because it was really dusty. And when I blew the tire, I got on the radio, called out, said, "Hey, I think I blew a tire." And then I luckily, because I was the last one in line, the guys came back and helped me get it home. But if I didn't have those radios, I was the last in line, and we were probably a mile apart. It could have been, I don't know, 30 minutes, even after I got on the radio. It was like, "Hey, I blew a tire." It was still about 15 minutes before they got back to me. So it could have taken them a long time before they knew I wasn't back there. So definitely well worth the investment, and definitely well worth putting in, just so that way you can talk to your passengers. And these headsets kind of make it so it's not so noisy in here, and it makes it a lot easier to conversate with other people if you go with groups of people all the time. Windshield. I was against the windshield at first. I thought, I don't need a windshield, but now that I have it, it does get chilly here in Utah. See, I'm wearing gloves right now even though it's sunny out, but you can see the snow-capped mountains. It's only in the 50s, and when you're driving at 60 miles an hour, it gets cold. So highly recommend a glass one. I was worried that it would break, but knock on wood, hasn't. And it really helps keep it a little bit warmer in there. I like this one because it has these little vents. You can pop them open So if you do start getting a little warm, you can pop them open like that. Pulls the fresh air in. Lower doors. This is another thing I was kind of against, but as you can see just from how muddy they are right now, how much dirt it keeps out of the cabin, and also how much dust when it gets dusty, and then also how much warmer it keeps you. So just put these on recently once it started to get a little bit chillier around here. I'm not sure if I'll leave them on during the summer. I probably will, just to help keep the dust out. But they're a nice added touch. Keeps all the mud from coming inside, and also helps keep it a little bit warmer inside for when it's a little bit chillier. So mine is clutched and tuned. So these things are already about 195 horsepower from the factory. This one now is at about 240. So I just have a 91 octane KMS tune, along with the KMS clutching. Big fan of those. The biggest difference that it makes is how it delivers the power. Before it always kind of be very like laggy, not very fast. It was fast, but I mean, the engagement just didn't feel very good. It was very like laggy. Now it's instantaneous. So you put your foot on the gas, it'll light up all 4 tires. And this thing is fast. I've had a lot of guys in 2-seater, you know, Evo tuned ones, smoke them. We do races out here on the beach, and so yeah, it's definitely satisfies the need for speed. So the biggest thing though is, even if you're not into driving super fast, is just the difference that it makes it feel. So it makes it feel completely different of how you drive it. So instead of having like a delay between the time you push the gas and actually going, it's just instantaneous now. And it just pulls super hard all the way, pretty much as fast as you want to go. So that's definitely one thing I would do again. So yeah. So out of all these things, I have to tally them all up. I don't even know how much it is. It's probably 20 grand. You got a couple $1,000 for tires, $2,000 for full suspension work, about $550 for a windshield, say maybe $300 in light bars, $600 roof rack, $2,000 rugged radio system, a clutch and tune, which I believe is around $1,000. I'll have to double check about that. I think I already mentioned the wheels and tires. Those are about $2,000, I think. About $450 for the SME particle separator. Let's see, I think that's about it. So yeah, there really is not one thing on here that I would not do again. The wheels and tires are a must. The suspension craps out at 500 miles. That's a must. The rugged radios, I think, is a must, so you can talk while you're driving, which is really great, especially if you have kids, because our kids used to be like, we used to use hand signals like, yeah, we're good, or no, we're not good, and you know, every time they wanted to talk, we'd have to stop. So those are definitely a necessity. You know, the only thing that I probably would change if I were to do it all over again is I'm not a huge fan of how high this roof rack sits. So if I was to do it again, I probably would do a custom roof, maybe a custom cage, because it's really hard to do a low profile. I mean, it's sitting right there on the roof, you know, there's no, you know, it just sits up high here because the center is domed. But if I was to do it again, I'd probably do a custom cage and then a low profile roof rack, because I think those just look a little bit cleaner. But other than that, I think that's the only thing I would do differently. And I kind of cheaped out. This is a cheap $100 and some light bar, and this came with it. And then this one, I think it was 36 bucks. I think I maybe would have just done one higher end dual beam bar, so then I wouldn't have to have all those, and then I could just have a low profile roof rack. So that's about the only thing I would change that I did differently.